If you clicked because you wanted hot strikes, I am about to disappoint you on purpose. This session is about what fast index options products do to attention, identity, and impulse in the United States trading culture, where speed is marketed like virtue. 0 days to expiration and heavily traded index options are not evil by themselves. They are tools. But tools that deliver feedback in minutes can train habits faster than your spreadsheet trains discipline. That mismatch is where accounts die quietly. This is educational psychology and risk awareness only, not personalized investment or tax advice, not a trade recommendation, and not a promise of outcomes. Nothing here tells you what to buy or sell. We name emotional mechanics that show up when gamma moves, when premiums inflate around headlines, and when your feed turns into a scoreboard. The goal is simple: help you recognize the version of you who widens risk after a loss, chases green after a miss, or confuses adrenaline with edge. If you trade slower products, you will still benefit because the brain circuits are the same. If you trade fast products, consider this a long warning label written in plain English. Stay with the boring parts. Boring is where the leverage is. Human brains learn from consequences on a delay. Markets already compress time. Then index options, especially short-dated contracts, compress it again until the chart feels like a heart monitor tied to your self-worth. In the US, brokers, social feeds, and gamified interfaces can make each candle feel like a referendum on intelligence. That is a hostile training environment for thoughtful sizing. Fast feedback loops increase the reward for impulsive correctness and increase the punishment for impulsive error, which sounds fair until you realize variance is noisy. You can do the wrong thing and win, and the right thing and lose, sometimes back to back. Random reinforcement is the fastest way to engrave superstitions. Professional operators treat feedback as a sample, not a sermon. Retail traders often treat feedback as a verdict. The psychological fix is not to slow the market down. It is to slow your decision pipeline down on purpose. Fewer clicks, fewer simultaneous narratives, fewer heroic saves. If your plan requires perfect emotional weather, it is not a plan. It is a wish dressed as a spreadsheet. 0 days to expiration is mostly a calendar fact, but in culture, it became an identity object. People say 0 DTE the way others say marathon, a test of toughness. That metaphor is dangerous because toughness is not the missing variable for most blow-ups. The missing variable is restraint under uncertainty. When time to expiry is measured in hours, small price changes can produce large percentage swings in option value. That can feel like genius when it works and theft when it fails, even though nothing moral happened. Probability happened. If you want a healthier frame, treat 0 DTE like driving in rain. The road is not angrier at you, friction is higher and mistakes cost more. Your job is not to prove bravery. Your job is to keep the car on the road. That means smaller size, clearer invalidation, and a willingness to miss moves that do not fit your rules. Missing is a skill in fast products because the market will manufacture infinite invitations to participate. SPY and QQQ options liquidity is a genuine feature of U.S. markets. It is also an attention magnet. When something is easy to trade, people trade it more than they should, simply because friction dropped. Friction is not only commissions. Friction is also the pause between idea and click. Remove the pause and you remove the chance for second thoughts that might have saved you. Index products also come bundled with macro narratives. Inflation prints, Fed language, tech leadership, geopolitical headlines. Narratives are sticky because they feel explanatory. They turn randomness into story, and story feels like control. The psychology edge is to separate liquidity from obligation. Liquid does not mean mandatory. You are allowed to watch SPX gamma chatter and still take 0 trades. You are allowed to understand volatility and still refuse a lottery ticket. The traders who survive fast instruments often have one boring trait. They can stare at opportunity and not reach for it unless the checklist is satisfied. When outcomes arrive quickly, the brain assigns credit and blame quickly too. That creates an illusion of skill on winning streaks and an illusion of sabotage on losing streaks. In reality, many outcomes in short-dated options are dominated by variance and positioning dynamics you do not fully observe. That is not an insult to your intelligence. It is a description of complexity. The psychological risk is that you start narrating your identity through short-horizon results. I am sharp because I greened. I am broken because I read it. Neither sentence is stable. If you tie identity to variance, you will behave erratically because variance is not a moral agent. A better identity anchor is process. I followed rules, I sized correctly, I stopped when planned. Outcomes will still sting, but they will not rewrite your name. This is how professionals keep playing after bad months. They refuse to let 1 week become their autobiography. Convex payoffs can seduce the lottery brain. A small debit for a chance at a large move feels like a bargain with fate. Sometimes it pays. The danger is not the occasional lottery win. The danger is the story the win tells you about yourself. Suddenly, you are someone who sees the matrix, someone who times chaos, someone who should size up because you have a gift. That story is how small accounts become donations. In U.S. retail culture, lottery language is everywhere. YOLO, Lotto Friday, free money jokes. Jokes are fine until they become your risk policy. A disciplined approach treats convexity like alcohol. A little can be fine for some adults. A lifestyle will eventually punish you. If you trade short-dated options, build explicit rules for how many lottery tickets you are allowed per week, what loss ends the experiment, and what counts as a successful day that does not depend on a jackpot. A successful day can be, I followed my plan and took 0 trades. Social finance runs on screenshots because screenshots are emotional weapons. A green profit and loss screenshot compresses hours of selection, bias into a single punch. Your brain compares your full reality to someone else's highlight reel. That comparison is not informational. It is motivational poison. In the United States, Influencer incentives reward extremes, not representativeness. The feed will always show you someone who caught a violent move. It will rarely show you the distribution of outcomes across thousands of attempts. Your job is to treat screenshots like ads, not evidence. If you feel envy spike, label it. Envy is a signal that you are about to trade someone else's story with your own money. The antidote is boring. Track your own distribution, measure behavior separately from outcomes, and mute accounts that make you feel behind. Being behind is a feeling, not a fact about your next trade. Anchoring is not a cute behavioral finance footnote. It is a tax. Cost basis anchoring makes you hold losers longer because admitting the level was wrong feels like admitting you were wrong as a person. In options, anchoring can also show up as chasing a credit you once got, a fill you once saw, or a premium level that no longer exists. The market does not owe you yesterday's prices. Another anchor is the green water line, the mental need to get back to flat on a name or a day. That need can force oversized repairs, doubling down, or widening definitions of acceptable risk. The psychology move is to separate repair trades from ego trades. A repair trade is sized, planned, and has a hard stop. An ego trade is a negotiation with shame. If you hear internal language like "I just need," treat it like a smoke alarm. Not every alarm means fire, but every alarm means pause and check the building. Revenge trading is a loan shark. It offers quick relief from humiliation, then charges compounding interest. In fast options products, revenge often arrives faster because the instruments allow rapid rate entry. You lose, your nervous system screams, and the platform is already open on the next contract. The United States retail stack is optimized for speed, not for cooling you down. That means your cooling system has to be internal and pre-written. Revenge trades are usually not about recovering money. They are about recovering dignity in the cheapest currency available, another ticket. The fix is not willpower alone. Willpower fails when blood pressure spikes. The fix is friction you install ahead of time. Forced breaks after 2 losses, a buddy text, a literal timer, deleting quick presets, or stepping away from the desk. If you think stepping away is weakness, you are measuring courage wrong. Courage is keeping your rules when your body wants war. FOMO is the sensation that scarcity is real and time is running out. In index options around big moves, FOMO can spike because the crowd is loud and the clock is visible. You pay a first fee when you enter poorly. Worse prices, worse structure, worse liquidity. You pay a second fee when your emotional hangover makes the next hour worse. Overtrading, tilt, inability to focus on family, inability to sleep. That second fee is where careers quietly degrade. The psychology reframe is to treat FOMO like a tax bracket. If you choose to pay it in small size with a defined max loss, not with your whole emotional week. Also remember, the American feed is built to manufacture FOMO because urgency increases engagement. Your trading business should not use the same business model as a social app. Your business model is repetition, measurement, and survival. If you want a practical drill, write down the exact sentence your brain says when FOMO hits. Then write a one-line answer your adult self wants to say back. Memorize the answer like a script. Many traders accidentally build identity around being in motion. If I am not in a trade, I am not working. If I am not working, I am falling behind. That belief turns markets into a treadmill with no off switch. Index options make motion cheap, so identity traps tighten. The fix is to rebuild identity around restraint. The trader I respect is the one who can wait. That sounds soft until you realize waiting is how you avoid the dumb tax. A useful exercise is to track non-trades, moments where you wanted in and chose no. Non-trades are wins when your rules said no. They feel invisible because nothing happened, but invisibility is not the same as irrelevance. If you only celebrate clicks, you will train yourself to click. If you celebrate discipline, you train a calmer nervous system. In U.S. culture that glorifies hustle, choosing stillness is a contrarian flex. Be contrarian where it counts. Winning streaks are dangerous because they teach confidence without teaching conditions. You start trusting your gut because your gut recently paid you. Then variance rotates and your gut becomes a liar, but you still trust it because loyalty to self-image is human. In short-dated options, streak psychology can accelerate sizing mistakes. Wins feel like proof you understand gamma now, or liquidity pockets, or the rhythm of the afternoon. Maybe you do partially. Partial understanding plus full confidence is a classic failure mode. The psychology defense is to treat streaks like altitude. Higher altitude means thinner air, not stronger lungs. After a strong week, tighten review, reduce size, and reread your rules. If that feels punitive, remember the market is not your parent. It will not reward good vibes with safety. It rewards survival systems that still work on bad Mondays. Options losses can feel unfair because the structure is asymmetric in ways that confuse intuition. You can be directionally almost right and still lose on timing and volatility shocks. The brain interprets that as injustice because humans confuse fairness with predictability. The market is not unjust. It is indifferent. Indifference can feel cruel when you needed kindness. The emotional skill is to mourn the loss without turning it into a conspiracy story about manipulation, unless you have actual evidence. Conspiracy stories feel protective, but they often increase revenge risk because they outsource responsibility. A healthier story is, I took a defined risk in a complex system, and I paid for information about my process. Then you extract lessons without extracting self-worth. This is hard American emotional work, because culture teaches winning as character. Markets teach something harsher and more useful. Character is how you behave when winning and losing are both possible. CPI weeks and FOMC weeks in U.S. Markets are not magical prediction festivals. They are volatility and attention festivals. That matters for psychology because attention spikes increase mistake rates. People trade more, sleep less, argue more, and interpret noise as signal. If you trade short-dated options around events, your edge is often not forecasting the headline. It is managing impulse before and after the print. That means predefining what you will do in each direction, predefining max loss, and predefining when you will not trade at all. The hardest rule is sometimes the no trade rule, because sitting still feels like missing the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl happens many times a year in markets. Your account only has to blow up once to change your life. Treat event weeks like driving through a city you do not know. Slower speeds, wider following distance, fewer lane changes. You are not trying to win traffic. You are trying to arrive alive. Pre-market and the opening hour can feel like a race because liquidity and volatility can jump together. Speed is not courage. Courage is keeping your plan when the tape tempts you. Many U.S. traders confuse fast clicking with competence because busy hands feel like work. Competence is often quieter, fewer trades, clearer levels, explicit invalidation. If you love the adrenaline of open, build a ritual that reduces harm. Smaller size, no averaging down without a written rule, and a hard stop on the number of attempts you get before you must pause. Also remember your body. Caffeine plus sleep debt plus fast markets is a chemistry experiment on your prefrontal cortex. You are not weak for noticing that. You are honest. Honesty is an edge because it leads to scheduling trades when you are capable, not only when you are excited. Position size is not only a risk variable. It is an emotional thermostat. When size is too large relative to your emotional capacity, small moves produce large internal alarms. Alarms produce shortcuts. Widen the stop, remove the stop, double down, switch products, chase a different ticker. In fast options, size errors explode quickly because the instrument responds violently to small underlying changes. The psychology practice is to choose size so that the max loss is boring, not cinematic. If max loss feels cinematic, you will behave like you are in a movie. Movies have writers who save the hero. Markets do not. A practical U.S. retail framing. Size so you can still eat dinner without checking your phone every minute. If someone can read your profit and loss from your face, your size is too big for your nervous system. That is not shame. That is calibration. A simple circuit breaker can save more money than an advanced indicator. Example, after 3 losses, you end the session or cut size by half for the rest of the day. The exact number matters less than the principle. Your brain is not linear after repeated pain. The third loss is often where revenge arrives. A circuit breaker is pre-committed humility. It feels infantilizing until you remember professionals use kill switches too, just fancier names. Write your breaker in plain English and read it aloud before volatile sessions. If you break your breaker because this time is special, you are back to worshiping variance. The market loves special stories. It funds them briefly, then sends a bill. Tilt is not a character flaw. It is a physiological state where threat detection hijacks executive function. You cannot debate yourself out of tilt on the same timeline that tilt operates. You need a downshift protocol. Stand, water, timer, walk, cold air, close the laptop, call a friend who does not trade. If that sounds soft, measure it by outcomes. The goal is to reintroduce time between impulse and action. In fast options, time is the scarce resource you are constantly selling. Buy some back. A downshift protocol is also how you protect relationships. Many U.S. traders quietly damage family trust by being mentally absent while physically present. If your trading harms love, your trading is too loud in your life. Turn the volume down with rules, not with promises. Ending the session is a skill because the market offers infinite continuation. There is always another contract, another headline, another hour. Infinite games do not pair well with finite humans. A planned stop time is not laziness. It is risk management for attention and sleep. If you tell yourself you will trade until you feel satisfied, you have built a machine that can run forever, because satisfaction after losses often moves the goalposts. Instead, choose a stop time and a stop-loss budget for the day. When either trips, you are done. Done means done, not done except one more. The psychology trick is to pre-write what done feels like. I will close the platform. I will walk 10 minutes. I will journal 3 lines. Rituals create closure. Closure prevents the midnight spiral, where you reopen the broker and trade tired. If your journal is a novel, you will not keep it. If your journal is 6 fields, you might. Date, setup, planned risk, actual risk, mistake flag, yes or no. 1 sentence emotion label. That is enough for training data. In the United States, some traders avoid journaling because it feels like evidence. Reframe it as maintenance logs for a machine you operate daily, your mind. You are allowed to be imperfect. You are not allowed to be blind. For options specifically, add 1 field, time to expiry bucket. Patterns often hide in the intersection of emotion and product speed. You might discover your worst mistakes cluster after lunch, after losses, or in the last hour. Data turns drama into diagnosis. Diagnosis is how you stop repeating expensive poetry. Outcome dependence is addictive because outcomes are vivid. Process is boring until it saves you. A process score means you grade yourself on rule adherence, sizing, and patience, not on whether the market cooperated that hour. This is especially important in short-dated options, where a good process can still lose, and a bad process can still win over a small sample. If you only grade outcomes, you will abandon good habits and keep bad habits because randomness rewarded the bad habits louder. The adult move is to lengthen the evaluation window while tightening the behavior window. Tight behavior today, patient evaluation over weeks. This is how you build expectancy thinking without becoming numb. You still care about outcomes, but you do not let outcomes rewrite your identity every 60 minutes. You can consume market commentary without becoming prey. The rule is separation. Research time is scheduled. Execution time is quieter, and never mix the two without a boundary. In U.S. finance social, the dominant emotion is often performative confidence. Confidence is not evidence. Follow accounts that show methodology, uncertainty, and risk language, not only outcomes. Mute accounts that make your chest tighten. Your chest is a sensor. If commentary triggers physiological stress, it is not helping your execution wallet. It is taxing it. Also beware the subtle trap of learning addiction, where consuming content feels like progress. Progress is measured in repeated behaviors under pressure, not in hours watched. Turn 1 hour of feeds into 20 minutes of feeds, plus 10 minutes of rule review. That trade usually pays. Risk of ruin is mathematical long-term, but it often begins as a feeling. Invulnerability after wins, desperation after losses, numbness after grind. Those feelings change behavior before the math turns catastrophic. Fast options can accelerate the path from feeling to outcome because the lever is large relative to time. If you notice numbness, treat it as danger, not calm. Numbness can make you click sizes you would never click while fully present. If you notice desperation, treat it as a hard stop signal, not a signal to find the one magical trade that fixes the week. The United States market will still exist tomorrow. Your goal is to exist with it as a participant who can choose another session. Survival sounds humble until you realize survival is the prerequisite for compounding anything worthwhile. Viral moments sell peaks. Longevity sells process. If you trade index options and short-dated products, your competitive advantage is not that you are the smartest person in the Discord. It is that you can keep playing without blowing up your account, your health, or your relationships. That requires humility, measurement, and a willingness to be boring on purpose. Carry forward 3 habits from this session. First, write 3 non-negotiable rules for fast products and read them before volatile days. Second, install a circuit breaker after repeated losses. Third, treat FOMO as a labeled tax, not a command. Nothing here is financial advice. It is psychology and risk education for adults who choose complex instruments. If you want a final reframe, think of yourself as an athlete in a contact sport. The goal is not to never get hit. The goal is to not get knocked out. Stay on your feet, stay rules first, and build a life that still feels worth living when the closing bell is quiet. Thank you for taking this seriously.